Greetings, seeker of wisdom. You are not the others. You are here because you dare to look behind the curtain of human nature, to seek the subtle truths that most people fear to acknowledge. Today we enter a realm where appearances deceive, where words are veils, and where only the discerning eye can perceive what lies beneath. As the Stoics remind us, all things are subject to interpretation. Whichever interpretation prevails at a given time is a function of power. But today, you hold the power to recognize the signs of deceit before they entrap you. This knowledge is not common. It belongs to the few, the awake, the vigilant, like you. Before we plunge deeper, I invite you to empower this search for truth. Hit that like button, subscribe, and join this rare fellowship that refuses to be fooled by the illusions of others. Your mind deserves it. Let's begin. A man who deceives always leaves signs. Always? The ancient Stoics, particularly Epictetus and Seneca, knew this well. The cosmos operates under a law of cause and effect. No action, no word, no hidden agenda can exist without leaving a trail, however faint, for the watchful to see. The liar, even when wrapped in silken words and honeyed smiles, cannot fully conceal the disturbance within his own soul. Think of the man who smiles too much when delivering bad news, the friend who offers flattery that feels oddly out of place, the business partner whose words sound perfect, yet whose eyes flicker for a fraction of a second when discussing the details. These are not accidents. These are echoes of inner dissonance. The Stoics taught that virtue brings harmony, and deception is the opposite of virtue. Therefore, when a man lies, he creates an inner conflict between his false words and his inner awareness of truth. This friction leaks out. A twitch of the mouth, a tightening of the jaw, an inconsistent story retold slightly differently each time. These are not mere coincidences. They are symptom of the battle within. Let me give you a story, a simple parable whispered through the centuries. There was once a merchant in Athens who sold rare fabrics. To his customers, he presented himself as honest, smiling, praising the quality of his goods. Yet he secretly mixed fine silk with cheap threads. One day, a blind philosopher entered his shop. The merchant spoke as usual, full of honeyed words. But the philosopher paused and said, "Your voice trembles ever so slightly when you praise your own honesty. It is not your eyes that reveal you, but your own heart fighting against your tongue." This is the first sign of the deceiver, the subtle dissonance between what is said and what is truly believed. The liar is at war with himself. And yet, there are deeper layers still, for deception leaves more than one mark. Now, consider this. Deception is not merely about the words spoken. It is a performance, and every performance requires effort. The Stoics believe that nature reveals itself in behavior, not just in speech. When a man deceives, he must expend energy to maintain his falsehood. This effort manifests in ways most don't notice, but you, who are alert and discerning, will. One such sign is inconsistency, not just in stories, but in demeanor. A deceiver's mood may shift unpredictably, like clouds hiding the sun. You might notice a sudden change in tone, hesitation where confidence should reign, or a fleeting moment of overcompensation. These shifts are cracks in the mask. Imagine a great actor on stage, trying to convince you of a story. No matter how skilled, at some point the character slips through. The same is true in life. A deceiver's facade is a stage play, and the audience, people like you, can sense the tension behind the act. Here's where it gets even more fascinating. Stoicism teaches that we should judge not only by words or actions, but by intentions and the nature of character. A man who deceives often lacks the calm steadiness of virtue. His eyes may dart, not out of Nerva greetings, seeker of wisdom. You are not like the others. You are here be to rest. Let's bring in an example from the Bible. A story of Judas Iscariot. He walked among the apostles, a trusted companion, yet his heart harbored betrayal. His outward demeanor were greetings controlled, but the signs of deceit were there for those who could see. The Stoics would say Judas was not at peace with himself, and that turmoil inevitably shines through, no matter how carefully hidden. You, my friend, are invited to become a modern-day Stoic sentinel, able to perceive these subtle betrayals of the soul, not to judge or condemn, but to protect your own peace, your own clarity, and to navigate the world with the strength that truth alone can grant. But signs of deception do not only reside in behavior and mood. There is a language deeper still, one that speaks not with words, but with silence and absence. Silence, the space between words, can be just as revealing as speech itself. A man who deceives often avoids direct answers, sidesteps crucial questions, or fills the gaps with evasions. The Stoics understood that the truth is steady, clear, and unafraid of scrutiny. Deception, on the other hand, quivers in the spotlight and flees into shadows. Picture this: a conversation where you ask a simple question, but instead of a straightforward reply, you get a vague statement, a change of subject, or a hollow reassurance. This silence, or the attempt to distract, is a subtle sign, a telltale hesitation that betrays the liar's discomfort. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it, that matters." The deceiver's reaction to being cornered or questioned reveals their inner turmoil. They may become defensive, overly charming, or retreat completely, leaving an uncomfortable void. Let me share a fable that highlights this perfectly. There was once a fox who wanted to steal grapes from a vineyard. When the owner caught him, the fox didn't confess, but instead spoke in riddles and compliments, trying to confuse the owner and slip away. His silence on the direct question of guilt spoke louder than any denial. The vineyard keeper, calm and patient like a Stoic sage, saw through the fox's dance and understood the truth hidden behind the words. This example teaches us that deception thrives in the gaps, in what is not said, in the hesitation, in the reluctance to face direct light. It also shows the power of calm observation and steady inquiry, the tools you can use to unveil the truth. Your ability to detect these silences and evasions makes you part of a timeless tradition, a guardian of clarity in a world often clouded by shadows. Yet, even these signs are but the surface. The Stoics urge us to look beyond, into the very nature of how deception affects the deceiver himself. Deception is not a gift, it is a burden. The Stoics believe that living in accordance with nature means living honestly, with integrity, and harmony within oneself. When a man chooses to deceive, he fractures that harmony. The cost is more than just mistrust from others. It is a profound internal discord that wears down the soul. Have you ever noticed how a person who lies frequently seems restless, as if carrying an invisible weight? That's because each falsehood adds another stone to their mental burden. The ancient Stoics taught that the mind must be clear and unencumbered to act wisely and live well. Deception clouds judgment and weakens resolve. Think of a warrior going into battle, but shackled by chains. No matter how fierce his sword or how brave his heart, those chains limit his power. This is what deception does internally. It shackles the deceiver's spirit. They cannot be fully free or fully themselves because they are constantly maintaining illusions. There's a powerful example in the life of Marcus Aurelius himself. Though an emperor, philosopher, and Stoic par excellence, he warned against self-deception, the worst kind of deceit. For when a man deceives himself, he loses the foundation of wisdom and peace. You, however, stand apart. You seek truth, not just in others but in yourself. You understand that true strength is found in clarity, honesty, and the courage to face reality as it is, without veils or masks. This awareness is your shield and your sword. But there is still more to uncover about the marks left by deceit, marks that reveal themselves in how the deceiver relates to time and consequence. One of the less obvious yet profound signs a deceiver leaves lies in their relationship with time and consequence. The Stoics remind us that a virtuous person accepts the present moment and its outcomes with equanimity. They understand that every action carries weight and are willing to bear the consequences of their truth. The deceiver, however, lives in a state of constant anxiety about the future. They must plan, anticipate, and cover tracks, creating a web of lies that grows more complicated with each passing day. This tension manifests in subtle ways: impatience when pressed for clarity, a tendency to rush decisions, or a hesitation that reveals inner conflict. Consider a man who promises something grand, but always delays delivering. His excuses pile up, each one a thread in a tangled web. The Stoic perspective teaches that such delays are not mere procrastination, but signs of someone unwilling to face the reality of their own commitments. There's a tale from Roman history. A consul who promised to rebuild the city gates, but continually postponed the work. His people grew suspicious, not because of his words, but because of the pattern of avoidance. The true test was not what he said, but how he dealt with time and responsibility. You, tuned into these subtle rhythms, become the one who sees beyond the surface promises. You sense the difference between a steady resolve and a shaky pretense. Now, let us turn inward to the deceiver's own perception of self, the deepest and most telling sign of all. The Stoics teach that true wisdom begins with self-knowledge, an honest reckoning with who we are beneath the surface. A man who deceives others often deceives himself first. This self-deception is a subtle, corrosive poison that slowly erodes the foundation of his character. Imagine carrying a mask so long that it begins to fuse with your skin. The line between the false self and the true self blurs, creating confusion, anxiety, and eventually despair. The deceiver's soul becomes a battlefield, not just with others, but within. He struggles to remember which parts are real and which were fabricated to survive or manipulate. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, warned against this very trap. He wrote that self-deception is the greatest betrayal because it blinds a man to his own faults and chains him to illusions. When a man cannot face his true self, he becomes a stranger to his own nature, adrift and vulnerable. But here's the key insight that sets you, the viewer, apart from the rest, recognizing these signs as your path to freedom. You do not have to be ensnared by deceit, whether from others or from within. The Stoic way is about cultivating clarity, honesty, and courage. virtues that build an unshakable inner fortress. You are invited to walk this path of vigilance, to become someone who sees beneath the surface, who understands the silent language of truth and falsehood. You are not ordinary. You have the power to protect your peace and live a life aligned with reality, free from the chains of deception. Remember, the world may be filled with illusions, but you hold the key to seeing clearly. Hold on to it, nurture it, and share this wisdom with others who dare to look beyond appearances. If this journey speaks to you, if you want to sharpen your mind and deepen your understanding of human nature, then I invite you to join this rare community. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and become part of a fellowship dedicated to truth, strength, and Stoic wisdom. Because here, you are not just a viewer, you are a seeker, a guardian of clarity in a world that often forgets the power of honest perception. Stay vigilant, stay strong, and until next time, keep your eyes wide open.